pronouns. My name is Skylie Johnson, and I currently attend George Mason University. It's a pleasure to be here with you all today for the Building Hope and Impact and Summit Awards. If I may start this conversation just by asking you all to introduce yourselves, and that will look like telling me your name, your age, and the pronouns that you're comfortable with. Starting with you, please.
My name is Summer. I'm 13 years old, and I'm fine with any pronouns.
My name is Siju. I'm 15, and I use they, them pronouns.
My name is Fee. I'm 15, and I use she, her pronouns.
I'm Caleb. I'm 13, and I use he, him.
I'm Hezekiah. I'm 12, and I use he, him pronouns.
Perfect. It's so nice to meet you all. My first question for you all today is I would like to know, what are your future career goals? What may possibly be a career that you would like to approach with in the future? Have you guys started to think about this?
I've thought of going into medicine. Just like my dad. So, but right now, in school, I kind of just want to make sure that, whatever needs to be, whatever needs to be improved or whatever needs to be fixed, people can, speak out about it. They don't have to just lie there. Just let someone, know. Let the student government know about it and let them tell the admin so that at least some awareness is brought to it,
And I'm very impressed that you know that at such a young age. That is something that I wanted to do with advocacy work and being from Ward 8, so that is a great thing. What about you?
I've always wanted to be a chemist when I'm older, try to help with diseases, make sure everyone's safe. But nowadays, I just want to make sure everyone's safe, healthy, and gets their learning experience that they need.
And what are your career goals?
My biggest career goal right now is to become a hopefully big business owner. I have a small business called Bimble Cosmetics.
Oh my gosh. All right, so June, what are your career goals?
I'd love to be a wildlife veterinarian and also be a bridge for seeing more trans people into the sciences, because I know from personal experience how hard it can be to want to go into something that's such a closed-off field generally.
Absolutely. What about you, Summer?
Well, I'm planning to be a lawyer when I grow up so I can help people actually, be good in life and not get falsely accused for things.
Yeah, my uncle's a lawyer. That's really nice.
My uncle is also a lawyer. What a coincidence.
What a coincidence.
I am so impressed by all of you knowing what you would like to do with your future endeavors, because when I was younger, I had to discover it on a pathway of trials and tribulations. You guys are so impressive, honestly. I kind of want to ask you guys, how did you come about? Is there a specific experience you may have had that, led you on that pathway to discover that is something that you want to do? Was it maybe something that was, supported by your administration? How did you guys come about, discovering that you guys wanted to go on such, interesting and diverse pathways?
I think it was just my dad. Just seeing my dad do what he did, he just, I don't know, when I was a wee young lad, as some might say, I always wanted to be a surgeon, and I kind of still want to do that now. Either being a doctor that will help with diseases, also go into surgery, I want to make sure that everyone, has a good life, because humans, I know the earth is a little messed up, but let's at least try and make, life better. So that's what I find.
With me, when I came interested into chemistry, it wasn't anything special, but my parents would always buy me these little boxes of little kind of fidgety things, make little things happen. And just like Hezekiah, I want to make the world a better place. And it's because of my parents that I want to.
Oh my gosh, I love the fact that you want to pursue chemistry. I am taking chemistry courses right now. They're a little difficult, but I'm on track for forensic science. So I definitely love the fact that you mentioned chemistry. And what about you?
I found a passion in makeup probably when I was 8. So my entrepreneurship, my brand is focused on cosmetics. I have 4 products 4 products launched. I sadly didn't get to bring them to here with me. I have lip scrub, lip gloss, cuticle oil, and body scrub. I started this business within my school, Exploration High School. The principal, Dave, actually funded it, so this was a huge opportunity, and it was completely free, and it's giving me a chance to grow as a person and have a bright future.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And the fact that your administration funded that and you were able to launch that with the support of your faculty and your staff, that's huge. That's really great.
I don't think there's been a summer I haven't gone to the zoo regularly. So, and with both of my parents being scientists and my mom's dad being a botanist and a high school science teacher, it was always, sciences were always very present. And so that with the exposure to animals just kind of grew a big portion of empathy for them in my heart. And now I want to work with them for the rest of my life.
Do you feel like your faculty and your administration are helping you support your future endeavors? Do you feel like they're putting you on track for the pathway to reach those goals?
Absolutely not. We don't take that much in science, and it's all over the place. Like, we were able to get dissect animals to be able to see what goes where, and now we aren't even able to get a hold of scissors that well.
Do you feel like there's a relationship where you can go to your faculty and administration and tell them about the issues that you're having or, potential improvements that you would like to see? And do you feel like you're heard? Do you feel like your voices are heard when you go to administration for a particular issue or something that you would like to see utilized?
Sometimes I'd say not all the time, because sometimes it may interfere with class course or what we need to do, since I go to a public school and we're on a very strict curriculum. We can't go too far off course, and if it interferes with that, it can't really be heard that much. But if it's very detrimental to our learning, they would take it into account as soon as possible.
And what about programs, maybe perhaps?
Currently, we don't have that many, because we are a new middle school. We were made about 3 or 4 years ago into a middle school, because we used to be an elementary. But now we're one of the few Cambridge schools in the U.S., so it is a little tricky for them to even get off their feet, but I like the improvement and how they've been able to go through it.
Nice.
What I'm curious about, you said that your administration helped you starting your business, right? I was wondering if you had something like that with yours, if that was significantly better than his.
Our school is a public charter school, so we not only don't really focus on test, we more go to projects. Right now, I think one of our projects are measurements for tie-dyeing things, and we're using natural tie-dyes, so leaves, plants, anything we can find in the outside, basically. And basically, I feel like not only that, we're also really surrounded by mental health. Our school provides a therapist. Mm-hmm. And this is our second year. Me and Sidra have been with them since the beginning. This is their second year of being open. Mm-hmm. And they're just all welcoming, and we just it's not as big as other schools, so we all know each other and we're all comfortable with each other. So if I'm having a bad day, I could go to Sidra and I could talk to them, Yeah. Or if I'm not comfortable talking to a student and it's something more personal, I could go to our special education teacher, our math teacher. They're all very understanding and welcoming. So they're just people that are comfortable to talk to.
My school's kind of like you. There's not too many people there. We may have way over 1,000 people, somewhere along the lines of 1,300, but it's because we have K through 8, so we have about, I'd say 300, 400 middle school students. So we're all pretty familiar with each other as well. So you could go to anyone, and I know that experience.
That's a lot of kids. We're adding seniors next year, and we only have like 80.
80?
80.
I think we're about 75 students.
Yeah,
between our
75.
three
And then I
grades.
think we're limiting it to 100 next year.
100, 110 was it? Something like that?
Yeah, we don't have nothing close to that.
God, you have really close relationships with everyone.
Yeah.
I believe my senior class was about the same size too, so pretty small. But I like the fact that you mentioned the idea of maintaining those relationships between student to student, but also student to faculty and administration, because a lot of students don't get that same experience. They walk into a building with faculty and administration, and most of the time they don't even know their name. They don't care to know their future endeavors or their future career paths. So I believe that that's really an important thing. You mentioned that you have a new school, and so the curriculum is a little bit strict and not really open to flexibility of changing like your courses. How does that make you feel?
Last year we did have like one specific teacher that would like always go into the topic of career, which was something that I really enjoyed, to like have myself be heard by a grown adult that's not my parent or any one of my friends' parents.
I would like to ask you all, what are some things that you would like to see improved? If you had an ideal situation where you could walk into school on Monday and all of your voices and your solutions and your thoughts were heard and considered, what would that look like for you all?
That would look like a soundproofed cafeteria, Galileo, like, I know, like, it's a kind of funny, but I decided to do a project with my group talking about the cafeteria, how it's like too loud. It's very loud. It's like the amount of decibels that are there. You're not supposed to be in a room like that for more than 30 minutes. And we're there for a ton of the day, when we're waiting to be picked up or when we're eating lunch. So, like, soundproofing the cafeteria would lower the amount of decibels there is and, help some people's hearing,
All right, Summer, I would like to hear from you. What are some solutions and things that you would like to see implemented into your school?
Well, currently I'm an online school, so it's not really a school, but something I would really like to see is there is this book, bear with me here. It was called The End of Average, and in it they cite a study where it was these planes, these pilots, right? And the thing they had before, the cockpits, they worked pretty well, right? So then they measured all these pilots and they created an average out of all of them, right? And they modified all the planes to fit this average. And then they couldn't fly the planes as well as they did before because of this average. Or this study over in Ohio, they measured all these women and they were trying to find somebody who was the average woman, and there was not a single person who fit that. And I think that same philosophy should be added to students in schools, because the way that we are, treated now, it's especially in bigger public schools like you were in, and you were kind of all treated the same. There's no room for, change or improvement. But in a smaller school like you guys are in, there is something like that. So school size is a definite problem because there's physically not enough resources there to provide any accommodations really for any student who doesn't fit in this perfect rigid average, which very obviously nobody really does.
It exists, but in reality, it doesn't really exist.
You have to constantly keep up. And let's say you don't get a something right away, right? And then let's say that's something in like math where everything builds off of each other. Then 4 years down the line, you're going to get a bad grade in math because you were never taught this one thing, but because the school had to keep pushing and pushing and pushing to keep going further, then it's like, and, also the fact that most people learn at different rates and at different things. And a lot of schools nowadays are more pushing for grades and just stuffing in as much information as possible so they get a good grade in school. in not actually learning things, right? Have you ever been sitting in a class and have thought to yourself, when am I going to actually use this in real life?
That's exactly what is asked every day in algebra class.
The way education is taught recently is just, and kind of forever, has just been repetition and memorization of just over and over and over again, and not actually learning things. If you could actually learn and pause and learn half the stuff that you are ever taught, then you would, you
do so much better in life.
Yeah.
And Sidra, I would like to hear from you. What would you like to see implemented?
I think a lot of our problems could be solved if we just had a bigger building, but there's only so much you can do because we only get so much funding from the state, which is a downside of having only 75 kids. So, there's the upsides and downsides to everything we do with schools. But it is one of the things that I like about having a small school is that we can do what we call accommodating the extremes, where if you can accommodate for the students who are on one end of the scale and the students who are on the other, then everybody else who's somewhere in between those two is also going to get their needs met, which we can do as a smaller school. But obviously, a bigger school like my previous middle school that had over 1,000 kids between 3 grades, you just don't have that opportunity.
So it seems like there's a commonality in, similarities that you all share between things that you would like to see implemented into your school. It's more support, more funding, more programs implemented, making sure that your voices are heard and that students have the capacity to reach their maximum potentials. And also making sure that you guys brought up earlier that your voices are ultimately being heard. A lot of times, I feel like adults will take over the role and the responsibility of trying to be an authoritative figure, but not actually listening to the students and not actually hearing the students out for what they would like to see. And I want to ask you all, what does a great education look like for you all?
I'd say that a great education looks like it being able to stop and, like I said before, just being able to stop and actually learn things instead of just constant rapid movement, memorization, and for things that, not even things that actually matter later in life, but just things that are interesting to learn. A lot of problems that students have nowadays is, once again, with burnout, even when they're, middle schoolers. So yeah, a great education for me would be actually interesting subjects presented in an individualized manner so you can do things at your own pace.
A great education is all that you're able to take your time, you're able to take the things that interest you and that would actually help you. Like for me, I'm not that big of a fan of like history or civics. Surprisingly, I'm more interested in the economy than that. Something that it can still help you. It may not now, but it can still be good for you later in life because taxes is a tricky business and you don't want the IRS after you.
So core classes, but also more classes that better suit your needs, better suit your future, and things that will help you, start to think about the career paths that you're going to approach, is what it sounds like.
I think that a great education or a good education looks like for me is like what you said, personalized learning. Learning that will allow you to take time, stop when you need it. If you ask for help, someone will be able, or even the teacher should be able to come to you. That's what I have in algebra class. Our math teacher gives up his free period to tutor students that need help, students that are struggling. And so that's what it looks like for me, like a school that will make sure that your learning is like not even like top tier, but like a good enough learning for you to understand what might come up sooner, what might help you in the future, anything that just like if you need help, that school should be where you go, Yeah.
What a good education looks like to me is time, breaks, and people who are around you, surrounding you with that empowerment and courage, pushing you to be your best self. Like,
Motivating you.
the motivation is a big part because us high schoolers, we, day and age, us high schoolers struggle with a lot of mental health, especially at our school. Like all of us, I could say all of us have some type of problem, and our teachers are so empowering and so, like, they give so much motivation that we keep pushing.
That's the kind of teachers that we need. Teachers that will help us, motivate us.
Teachers that are not just based on the curriculum, but like genuinely care about the students.
So once again, individualized education.
Yes.
Break the prison, the pipeline, guys. Let's break it.
For me, a great education looks like someone and somewhere that accepts, embraces, and promotes diversity, and not buzzword diversity, but small diversity, real diversity.
Genuine diversity.
Not just, hey, these are our statistics and our breakdowns. Diversity, I think it's thrown around as a buzzword, but when you let real diversity happen and that small, quiet diversity happen, is where you really get student empowerment, and is where you really get students who feel like they can be themselves and they can do what they want.
Absolutely, and I've had that direct experience before. You know, before I got to my high school at Richard Wright, my middle school, like as I mentioned before, I would walk into that environment and no faculty member took the time out to really gain that personal relationship, to understand or to know my future endeavors, or to even care to learn my name. And I feel like maintaining and building those relationships and, as you mentioned, authentic diversity and caring about your students is so important. There's one more thing that I would love to ask you all, and I think this is a very important question. And if you need time to process and think about it, I am 100% okay with that. What is something that you would love for future educators, administration and staff and faculty to hear about? What is something that you would like for them to know? What is one piece of advice that you would like to walk away from this conversation being glad that your voice was being able to be heard, and for them to understand, for them to know from the perspective of the younger generation and from the perspective of students?
At risk of sounding somewhat disrespectful and contradicting what I think a lot of teachers are taught, is that sometimes we do know best. No one else can tell us what it means to be a kid now, what it means to be a teenager now, and we are always right on our own experiences, and we are always right on how something comes across, no matter what the intention might be.
Agreed.
Students are a lot smarter than you give them credit for, and just because they're younger than you doesn't mean they're stupider.
You know, focus on the students, you know, care about them, you know, like have a genuine interest. You're not taking, like, I know you've taken a job, you need money and stuff, but also care. You need to care so that one day, like, if your student grows up to be something great, they can say that this school and this administration was the reason that I'm here today.
Because you all are the future generations.
They need to work for us to be able to become better, to be able to learn more, to be able to make this world a better place. Not just to be able to get a job, it's to make the kids feel special, like that the world needs them.
I would like to walk away with saying that if you put your mind to it and put your motivation and your effort into something, you can't do it.
Once again, I would love to thank you all for being able to participate in this conversation in the Building Hope Impact and Summit Awards. I've had such a delightful conversation with you all, and I've also gained a lot of insight. And even though I'm still a student as well, I definitely want you all to know that you have a voice. Ultimately, you are the future generation of leaders, and you are the future generation of making an impact and making a change and advocating on behalf of all younger generations that come after you as well. Thank you for joining our Student Impact panel.